When you think of air pollution, what do you think of? Billowing smog from industrial smokestacks, exhaust from cars and buses, wide-sweeping forest fires. But how often do we think about the air we breathe indoors, inside our homes, every single day? According to the EPA, we spend 90% of our lives indoors, where there may be 2 to 5 times more concentrated pollutants, and we may not even be noticing it.
You're taking 23,000 breaths a day. I would want that air to be clean. If you knew that you had dirty well water, right, you wouldn't be drinking the well water without some filtration, or maybe you wouldn't be drinking it at all.
Even though we breathe more than we drink, many of us might not think about where our air comes from, what it goes through, and what exactly ends up in it. Yet for some homeowners, this has been extremely important.
Shortly after we moved in, I had a baby. We wanted to make sure the house was as healthy as possible for the baby. So we had an energy audit done, and we were horrified to find out PM 2.5 levels were considered dangerous for adults and children, and that a ton of air was leaking out of our house. We were paying to heat and cool our home, but it wasn't even all staying in the house because the envelope of our house was so poor.
To fix the poor indoor air quality, we must first address the air leakage. This will help us later when we want to ventilate and filter the air effectively, but it also stops sources of pollutants from entering the home in the first place.
And when we moved in, our insulation was about this thin. It was originally green and was like a light brown. There was mouse poop in it. There was mold in it. It was disgusting.
When you have drafts coming in, especially along the foundation wall, guess what else comes in with that? Mice. When you have mice coming into the home, the mice excrement and whatever else they're leaving around there is creating unhealthy conditions in the home. And if you're able to seal up the penetrations where the drafts are coming through, you're stopping the mice from coming in as well.
For Mariah, her home was losing about 1/3 more air than what was considered standard building airflow. The envelope or the pressure boundary is where changes can be made to prevent this.
Windows, doors, siding, caulking, are you able to seal that up effectively so that you're not seeing a lot of drafts happening in the home?
So you can see up here, they went around the entire foundation of the house and insulated the entire foundation to help seal the envelope.
Keeping your home sealed means you are preventing contaminants from entering your home and collecting in your walls. And making sure your home is properly insulated will also ensure that the insulation itself and anything in it will not end up in the air that you are breathing, like the mice poop.
When we moved in, all our insulation was in the floor underneath these pieces of plywood. It was really terrible insulation, terrible for the air quality. It was going through our HVAC system, feeding into our house where we live every day. So they sucked all that gross insulation out and they put closed cell insulation all in the rafters.
But once we have ceiling and insulation covered, we then can move on to the next measure to help us clean up any remaining contaminants: filtration.
In our HVAC system, this was a 1-inch filter. What they did was separate this and put a 4-inch filter in here. Our air that gets put through our HVAC system and then pumped onto our house goes through a much bigger filter. So a lot of the particles that are dangerous and unhealthy for my children to be breathing are removed.
You have a ducted system in your house. There's a way to filter it so that it gets sucked into the return and it gets filtered, and when the air goes back into the living space, it doesn't have as many contaminants in it. Just don't go to Target and buy an air cleaner, right? That's not going to do anything.
So far, we have been talking a lot about how contaminants from the outside enter the home. But there may be major sources of pollution inside that many of us might be overlooking. And that's fossil fuel appliances, things oftentimes powered by oil or gas.
We ultimately switched to a wood insert. A lot of people switch to a gas insert, but my dream is a fossil fuel-free home. So we put a wood insert in. This is highly efficient. This actually alone will heat like most of the house.
With checking combustion safety. Is your boiler or your fossil fueled appliance giving off a really, really dangerous amount of carbon monoxide, right? Carbon monoxide, as you know, can kill you. That's not so good.
You also have other areas besides your heating system which contribute to that. Gas stoves, there have been a number of studies that have shown that gas stoves are leaking toxic gases into the home.
One study found that for a number of gas stoves, 76% of the methane emissions emitted by them were emitted when the stove was off. The methane, as well as the nitrous oxide gases that are released by these appliances have been found to cause irritation and damage to respiratory systems.
I wanted my children to be breathing the healthiest air possible. Anything that could contribute to asthma, any health conditions later on in their life. And when I saw my initial indoor air quality test, that was really alarming. I had a 5-month-old baby. They have teeny tiny lungs. I wanted her to be in the safest environment for her to develop, and that clearly was not.
We've heard a bunch of times from particularly mothers who say, I used to take my daughter to the doctor once a month and to the emergency room every 3 months. She hasn't been in the emergency room in 3 years, and we only see the doctor once every 6 months for a checkup.
We've lived more comfortably, and I have peace of mind that our air quality is not terrible. And my kids are, when they're playing inside, they're breathing in healthy air.
Energy efficient homes is not just about saving money on your energy bill, but it also could be a factor in controlling your health and your future. Although big changes might be too expensive upfront for a lot of people, even small changes like adding door sweeps or weather stripping to windows can help eliminate drafts, mold, and mice coming into your home. Changes like these can reduce energy use, and removing fossil fuel appliances altogether can help make the air safer for you and everybody else to be breathing. So old homes, new homes, it might be good to take a look and figure out what's in your air.